Jerry the King Lawler, my man.
My man, George Klein.
How you doing?
You are Memphis music. You know that, don't you?
Well, thank you.
You probably played more Memphis music than anybody in history, don't you think?
Thank you.
Yes, you have.
In fact, I played some of your stuff, and you did my Christmas charity show. You had an album out at one time.
I sure did, yeah. Me and the Nunner Brothers and Jimmy Hart.
Backs you.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, my gosh. The first album we did, we had some great musicians on there. That's the only way I was able to be on there, because the great musicians and other singers kind of helped me along, you know. But yeah, we had Jimmy Hart, the Gentrys, we had Tom Nunnery on there, and the Nunnery Brothers. But we had the Memphis Horns. We had oh my goodness. Jim Dickinson, all of these guys, just great musicians who were a part of that thing.
Yeah, Memphis was rocking then, wasn't it?
Oh my goodness, it was great.
And you were rocking too, you know.
I was trying to rock them in a different way. I was rocking soccer.
Now you told me once, Jerry, that I said, well, Jerry, how did you get into wrestling? And you folks, you don't know this, but Jerry's a great artist. I've been out to his house. You got some beautiful drawings in your house, especially that one of Elvis. I really love that one.
Yeah, and you're right. You know, as I was a kid growing up, I started drawing. I think the first time I remember drawing things was 4 or 5 years old, but it just always came so natural to me. I was always surprised that everybody couldn't draw. I mean, I could draw, just as like anybody would write their name. And I did that all through school and growing up, and then got here in Memphis. I had a tremendous art teacher who, by the way, right now, Helen Stahl, is ill and under the weather. I've been praying for her and everything at Treadwell High School. But Miss Stahl kept a lot of my artwork and that sort of thing, and she submitted it for me to the University of Memphis, which of course Memphis State at the time, and I won a full tuition commercial arts scholarship.
Wow!
To go to college and be an artist. And then somewhere along the line, while I was there, I was drawing some pictures. My dad and I were big wrestling fans, and we would go down to Ellis Auditorium at the time, right. And I would draw some pictures and draw characters of the wrestlers. And one day, just on a whim, I put 4 or 5 of the pictures together, put them in an envelope, and sent them to the Studio Wrestling. I knew Lance Russell was the announcer. I put Lance Russell in there, Studio Wrestling, Channel 13, 485 South Highland, dropped them in the mail, and I don't even know what I was expecting, but the following Saturday morning when the show came on, Lance was sitting there at the desk and Dave was sitting there, and I saw your desk, I saw my artwork, my pictures were sitting on the desk, and I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to show my pictures. And sure enough, about halfway through the show, he said, hey, we got some art we want to show from a young man named Jerry Lawler, and here's some pictures he did of Jackie Fargo and Tojo Yamamoto. And so anyway, I was on cloud 9, just a teenager, and here's my stuff on TV. So after the show went off, I'm just sitting home all proud and everything, and the phone rang. And it was Lance Russell calling me. And he said, hey, everybody loved your artwork, and we wondered if you would do some more next week and send them in. One thing led to another. I started doing art, and they were showing them every week on the show. And about 3 or 4 weeks later, he called me back again and said, Jackie Fargo, who was my hero, he was the top star in Memphis at the time. He said, Jackie Fargo wants to know if you come over to the studio this Saturday. He wants to talk to you and have you do some artwork on his club. He and Eddie Bond had a night.
I remember that, down on Madison.
Southern Frontier. Yeah. And so I got to go and actually meet Jackie Fargo, and then I went down and just started doing artwork at his club and met Eddie Bond, and it was just one thing led to another, and I saw that lifestyle that Jackie was living. I was always a big wrestling fan, and then basically after a while I begged and pleaded and kind of lied my way in, but that's how I got my foot in the door to get into wrestling.
And as I understand it, Jerry, I did some research. You won over 168 titles, right? Championship.
Who's counting? That is right. 168 championships, which is actually more than any wrestler in the history of professional wrestling, more titles than anybody.
Who was your favorite wrestler? Not the guy that you mainly. I like Danny Hodge a lot.
Oh my gosh, Danny Hodge. Danny Hodge is still alive.
Is he really?
And this guy, remember, he had this unbelievable grip.
Yeah.
He came and wrestled here in Memphis, and he wrestled. I wrestled him one time in Memphis, and his gimmick, he would either come out with a pair of pliers and just squeeze them and just smush them in half, or he'd come out with a big old apple and he'd just start to take a bite of it, and then you just crush the apple. And he was going to wrestle me, and he crushed the apple, and then I came out afterwards with Lance, and I had an apple in my hand, and I said, here's what a normal person would do with an apple, and I just started biting and eating the apple, and apparenthy made Danny a little hot.
He'd been an Olympic wrestler too, hadn't he?
Yeah,
he was very good from Oklahoma somewhere.
Absolutely, Oklahoma.
Luthez was also the champ at that time, wasn't he?
Luthez was, oh my gosh, wrestled a match one time with, this was I've been around a long time. Sometimes when I think about it, I go, golly, how long ago was that? But when I was first starting, it was great. When I was just getting started in the early 70s, a lot of these famous wrestlers from the distant past were kind of just ending up their careers. So I got a chance to wrestle some guys, like a tag match, me and Jim White against Luthez and Pat O'Connor, and the special referee was Jersey Joe Walcott.
Really?
Oh my gosh! So I mean, that's not many people can say you ever had a match like that. But yeah, Luthez was just unbelievable guy.
Jerry, now, we know that you've got a place on Bill Street now.
I do now, yes.
And that's got to be a lot of fun for you.
It is. It's called King Jerry Lawler's Hall of Fame Bar and Grill. It's at 159 Beale Street, right between Tater Red's and A. Schwab's, and it's just been so much fun, George. I mean, it's all about me and Memphis wrestling history, the inside, the decor, and we got live music going on all the time in there every day, and everybody's got a story about Memphis wrestling, including you. You told me you actually got started in television.
TV, because I was Lance Russell's sidekick.
Yeah.
And then I think Eddie, and he went back to radio or something.
Yep.
And Lance needed an MC for a TV show they're going to put on called Talent Party, and he gave me a shot. So
Lance Russell started you and I, didn't he?
But what about that movie? Did you go out to Hollywood for that?
Which one? The
Andy Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman, yeah, Man on the Moon. Oh yeah, went to Hollywood and filmed with Jim Carrey. Of course, played.
But did he get mad at you? He misunderstood something.
Me and Jim Carrey didn't get along.
Yeah.
I think he was sort of doing this method acting thing, and he was so involved in the Andy Kaufman character, and he thought in his mind that Andy and I were really mortal enemies, which in reality we weren't. We got along real well, but Jim Carrey thought that we hated each other, so he was so in character during the filming of this movie that he just treated me really bad, and so finally, though, I guess he forgot that part of the script was I get to slap him on the David Letterman show that was one of the last scenes we did in the movie. So he had pushed my button so much that finally when we did that last scene, I slapped the taste out of his mouth. I slapped Jim Carrey harder than I slapped Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
So
you told me once that was the real deal on Letterman, though.
Yeah. I mean, I slapped him hard as I could. No, that sort of just happened. I mean, Andy and I weren't bitter enemies or anything like that, but we got there on the Letterman show, and the Letterman people brought us in and told us all these things we were going to do. Andy was going to wind up. I was going to apologize to Andy for hurting his neck. He was going to apologize for making fun of wrestling, and then Andy was going to get up and sing "What the World Needs Now Is Love, Sweet Love." That's what we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
But it just nobody had any clue. It just kind of degenerated. Andy never apologized to me, and I never apologized to him. And finally, we got to the end of the second segment, and I knew we were out after that. And the Paul Schaefer's band started playing, and I just looked at Andy and stood up and hauled off and slapped him right out of the chair. And David Letterman, I mean, he just he freaked out.
That's very historic in television, really is.
Well, you know what? TV Guide still has it listed as one of the top 100 moments in the history of television, of everything.
Wow, that's strong.
It is strong.
Jerry, you take care, and we'll be down to visit you.
Thank you so much.
Jerry Lawler, really a nice guy. Ladies and gentlemen, Memphis Sounds with GK.